Well, hey guys, good evening. It is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur. It's great to be with you on Inspirations for Your Life. Thank you so much for joining me. If this is your very first time here, I want to say welcome and thank you for being here. So, it is great to be with you on another Inspirations for Your Life show. For those of you, again, I just want to welcome you. If this is your very first time, again, welcome. And if it's you're coming back, I want to definitely say welcome back. All right. Hopefully, you guys are liking the cold. I know, depending on when you're watching this or listening to this, it's been cold. I think Mother Nature's been playing some games. So, anyway, if you're thirsty or you're hungry, feel free to go grab something. And yeah, um, get something to eat, something to drink, whatever you'd like. And come on back to the show, whether that is something healthy or not. Feel free to do that. And again, come on right back to the show. All right, guys. So the other thing I want to say to you guys is this: is that if you have not checked out believemeachieve.com, you can do that by checking out more of my information. That's believemeachieve.com. So again, very grateful if you guys check that out. You can do that 24 hours a day, actually, after the show is over. And all right, so the thing is, we've been talking about a very important topic this week. We always talk about important topics. You know that, right, guys? So, by the way, today is Monday, February 9th, 2026. All finished with Flow Follies. It's been a very long, let's say, the last 2 weeks, really the last week. And then the show was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So, just kind of getting back on track with things. So, we're talking about something very interesting. And that concept that we've been talking about, for basically the entire week, and we kicked off on Saturday. If you guys remember what that topic is, I'm sure you guys remember what the topic is. What was the topic? You remember? Sure. The topic this week we kicked off is from fear to forward, choosing light, clarity, and momentum. Yes, guys. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and officially kick this show off. All right, everyone. This is Inspirations for Your Life. It's Series 5, means we're on the air our 5th year. We've been on the air 4 solid years, and we're on our 9th day in the 5th year. Episode, yes. I cannot believe we are on our 7th show in episode 3. From fear to forward, courage in small decisions. The thing that we're going to be talking about today is a really important thing. When we talk about clarity. Clarity, light, and momentum. This episode focuses on how small intentional acts of courage create momentum in your life and other people's lives. So I think that's a very, very important thing to understand is how that all works. So this episode is focused on the intentional acts of courage, creating momentum, and not just dramatic leaps, but also the fearless moves that we all make, but quiet decisions made before confidence shows up. By the way, this is day 3. This is Monday, and it's all about courage and small decisions. Hey, that's what this is about today, the granular topic. And number 1, guys, is a really good one. And you know what that is? That is why small acts of courage compounds faster than rare big bravery. That's a very important thing to understand. I think when we talk about that moment, okay, we think about small courage, how it can compound faster and how it can bring bravery. But sometimes people don't get it because what's happening is they are jumping all around. Like they're not focusing, right? They're not in the moment. That's probably the most important thing that I can tell each and every one of you. Number 2, guys, number 2 is the power of a 10-second brave decision. 10 seconds of courage can change an entire day. Now, 10 seconds might be all you need to fire somebody or to give somebody a compliment, but that 10 seconds is going to bring in bravery in your life and a lot of other people's lives. But 10 seconds is not a long time, but it's important to use the 10-second rule to do what it is that you want. And you have to be intentional with everything you do, guys, because if you're not intentional, you know what happens? Well, you just keep going back in this great big circle, a circle that goes around and around and around and around and around. And that's a very big problem for a lot of people. I've got to tell you this. A lot of people have a problem with things going around and around. Number 3, how micro courage builds momentum. Tiny brave actions create forward motion. All right. That's important. And forward motion is something that we need in our life. And what we have to realize is the forward of something, the forward of, a book, the forward of a movie, the forward of any type of story, right? The forward of a Broadway play. The forward is kind of the synopsis, but it's also an introduction that gets us into the main meat of the play, of the show, of the music. Even our songs have forwards, right? We sometimes call them refrains. So number 4, why waiting for confidence keeps you stuck. Confidence follows action, not the other way around. Confidence follows action day in and day out. And that's important to understand. And so when we think about that, okay, acting before fear now finishes its sentence, move before fear completes the story. Fear, guys, is nothing more than false evidence appearing real. I'm going to tell you that right up front, not to scare you, but to let you know that is the truth, guys. Fear is false evidence appearing real. And I think that's a very important thing. And I do want to encourage you guys, if you are watching us or live, you can actually chat with us by going to our show that's live. And we have the ability to take chat from many different places. So that's basically Instagram, that's Facebook, that's LinkedIn, it's even YouTube. And if you do that, we will see your comments and we'll respond. All right. Number 5. Number 5 is acting before fear finishes its sentences. Before. So move before fear completes the story. That is number 5, guys. I think sometimes we don't go anywhere. You know why? Because we're afraid of what the story is going to bring us. Yeah, we're afraid. And we don't know what to say or even what to do. I mean, I think that's a very important thing. So act before fear finishes its sentence. Move before fear completes the story. Number 6, guys, courage without drama. Real courage is calm and it's very, very quiet. I've said before, and we had this topic last week about the loudness. So loudness does not get the worm. I'm going to be honest. It does not get the worm. And so I say that to you because you might get people's attention for a short period of time, but you know what happens? You don't retain their attention. Nope. Because they start realizing that you're all full of it and that nobody really wants to follow you, except maybe you see you yell something like fire, don't ever do that. And then people look at you and then, you know what, you keep doing that. People still respond because they know the word fire and they don't know if this is actually true. It's kind of like, the little story about the boy who cried wolf. But you know what? If somebody keeps calling fire, I'm still going to go, even if I'm annoyed and they kept playing games. I'm still going to think it's a fire because I never know. The time I don't respond could be the time that my life gets endangered. All right. Number 7, guys, choosing progress over perfection. Progress beats perfect every single time in your life. Progress beats perfect every single time. I would rather make a certain percentage of progress than be perfect tomorrow. Because when I make progress, I can keep growing from progress and I can become, what's that, ladies and gentlemen? A better version of myself and help you become a better version of yourself. Number 8, guys, why bravery? Yes, why bravery? I think this is an important one. So why is bravery? Yeah, that's what I was about to tell you. So why bravery is a very important one. And so when we think about bravery, I want to just think about that for just a second because this is something that a lot of people miss. So I don't want to just rush into this. But I say to you, when we understand these things and we understand what bravery means and we understand what it doesn't mean, it allows us to take certain types of jumps in our life. And I think that's a very important thing for a lot of people to recognize and to realize, right? Bravery is it's a skill, but it also takes some mental and emotional fortitude to be able to act with bravery. And that's a very, very important thing, guys. Very important thing, because when we know about something, we act, then we can move forward, right? That's a very important thing to think about. So, um, courage without drama, guys, is real courage. It's calm and it's quiet. And choosing progress over perfection, like I said, progress beats perfection every time. But again, why bravery is so often quiet is most brave moments, they happen internally in our mind, in our body. And we just like, oh, that doesn't really matter. But it really does matter. It matters more than you actually think it does. And I think that's a very important thing for us to discuss today is the internal bravery that happens from those quiet moments, not the big, gigantic things that happen, but the small, little things, which actually compound into big things later on. Number 9, how daily courage compounds. Daily courage stacks into identity. Number 10, the myth that courage feels good. Courage often feels uncomfortable at first. Number 11, doing the things while your hands shake. You don't wait for it to be calm. You move with the shake. Some people have the shake, and guess what? The shake goes away. The shake goes away. I think that's a very important thing to understand is that when you start realizing that this is a short-term thing, the shake does not stay with you. People that are like, oh my gosh, I don't want to move because I'm shaking. You can actually develop better, let's say, balancing skills, like keeping yourself steady. I'll call it. Number 12, guys, why courage grows through action. Action trains courage. So when we take action, we keep doing this back and forth and back and forth. You know what happens? We become pretty amazed at what's going on in our life. And that amazement, guys, is something that a lot of people don't quite understand. So when I say these things to you, I say them because they fit a certain, let's say, a certain property. And that property is that when we go and take the action, whether it's a 10-second action or it's something else, we actually build our courage muscle. So our courage is nothing more than a muscle. And that muscle gets stronger every time that we execute courage. All right, I think that's a very important thing to understand and to realize. That's a very important thing. Number 13, small risks, big self-trust. Each risk strengthens self-trust again and again and again. And that's something that a lot of people don't really understand. But it does. It's a cyclic thing in a positive way. If we do it negatively, then it's going to affect us negatively. Number 14, how courage rewires fear and repeated courage retrains fear. So the reason sometimes people don't do something is because of the way fear has rewired their brain. And it's rewired their brain in such a way to say, you know what, I can't do this. But what I try to train people is, look, even though you're kind of fearing something, I say, you know what, you're really not, you're not fearing it. You're just excited. And it's excitement, and I try to get them confused on that. And they're like, oh, you're right. I'm just excited. And then I kind of let that feeling, push in. They're like, oh, wow. Yeah, I'm just excited. And it gets like, oh, I'm just excited. Yeah, it's just a new way of feeling excitement. And then guess what happens? The excitement starts to fade. So if one thing to have excitement fade. But if you have nervousness, it's hard to get nervousness to fade, but you can get excitement to fade easier than you can get nervousness to fade. I think that's an important thing. Maybe it's a new relationship. Maybe it's a new boss or whatever it is. Number 15, why confidence follows action. Movement creates belief every single time, hands down. Courage in conversations, speaking honestly, is everyday bravery. Number 16. And bravery, guys, believe it or not, is a very key point to things that happen in your life and my life and those you care so much about. Number 17. Speaking up without over-explaining. Clarity doesn't need justification. It doesn't need re-justification. It needs to be said correctly the first time so it hits home. All right? That's a very important thing. When you say courage the right way, you know what happens? you get empowered, you build courage, and each time you do it, it compounds just like money in the bank. It compounds, and I think that's a very, very important thing to understand. And these are things that a lot of people just don't seem to get. Um, I think what happens is a lot of people just don't understand why something is going a certain way. And then they don't really think about changing it. Remember, I said that when you can measure something, you can change it. If you can't measure it, you can definitely not affect to change it, positive or negatively. Number 18, choosing honesty over comfort. Truth builds long-term safety. It does. Truth builds safety. That's hands down. When we know the truth, we're safe. I'll give you an example. I'm a good driver. People want to drive with me. Pick them up, take them home. When they know I'm a good driver and that's truth, and that's something they've seen time and time out in my record, they feel comfortable driving with me. Number 19. Understand courage, guys, as a skill. And the courage improves with practice every single time, not just one time, but every single time. So courage as a skill improves with practice, but you can't just do it once and say, oh my gosh, it's not working. What am I going to do? Right? Number 20, guys, number 20. Why bravery doesn't need witness. Bravery counts even when no one sees it, no one else is watching. And I've said to you guys, one of the most important things is to do the right thing even when no one else is watching. When no one else is watching, because you know what it does? It shapes your character. And in shaping your character, it builds who you are, which part of building who you are, guess what that is? That is courage, guys. That is courage. And so understanding that, even because no one saw it, it doesn't mean that it wasn't good. It doesn't mean that, it was the wrong thing. Each time that you practice courage, you become a little wiser. You develop something that allows you to move forward. Maybe we're stuck. Courage allows you to push forward. Sometimes we just need a little tiny ounce of courage. We don't need a lot. We need a little bit. And if we have that little bit, we can move forward very easily. Number 21, guys, 21. How courage shortens recovery time. Brave people bounce back faster. That's another one of those weird ones, right? Because you wouldn't think that brave people bounce back faster, but I'm here to tell you that brave people bounce back faster. It's because if they falter, they can get back up. It goes through the very popular phrase, it doesn't matter how many times you fall down, you get down in a situation. What matters is how many times you get up. So if I fell 10 times, I got to get up 10 times. If I fell 10, I only get up 9, that's a problem. So it matters how many times you get up. It's got to equal how many times you fell. All right, that's a very, very important one. Number 22, taking steps without full clarity. Movement creates clarity. And if we don't have that, movement kind of stops. It gets stifled. We've seen this before. Maybe it either stops or it goes backward. It goes in a negative direction, right? So people say to me, John, if we're not moving, that's fine. Right, as long as you're not drifting backwards. A lot of times you can drift backwards, and that could be a big problem. And each time you drift backwards, it's a big issue. We talked about something very interesting, which was potentiometer of the focus rate. That if we keep turning, right? And as long as we use the analogy of power to our attitude. If the power stays on, I'm good. So if my attitude stayed good, that's equal to our power being on, right? So if the power stays on, I keep doing a little bit each day, eventually I reach my goal. But if I keep doing a little bit each day, but then I lose my attitude, well, the setting got lost. And we call that volatile, non-volatile. So volatile means that if the power is lost, you lose basically your setting, your memory, your information. Non-volatile means that that information is not lost, such as things like hard disks, SSD, M.2. I know this isn't a technical show, but I did want to just bring that in, okay? Number 23. Why courage is choosing movement. Stillness feeds fear, and movement feeds growth. And I think that's another important one to think about, right? A very important one to think about. And it's not like you're going to come up with this answer, guys, tomorrow. I'm going to be quite honest with you. It's going to be something that you're going to see over time. And as you see this over time, you're like, oh, wait a minute. I actually had an epiphany. I had a moment. And that moment says to me, all right, John, I suddenly get it now. I know what I'm doing. Okay? That's important to know. Number 24. Daily courage rituals. Small daily brave acts change behavior. I remember, let me tell you one of mine. I remember my parents owned the dry clean plant, and I had gotten the license. They call it a black seal. My dad got one, I got one. And somebody who had the black seal, my dad or myself, had to be on premise or pretty close to premise, like every time the business was open. So if the boiler was operating, one of us needed to be there like all the time. And very interesting thing is that when we think about that, there was something called a blowdown procedure for the boiler. Now, without getting too technical, every night we basically shut the, we would shut the boiler down. Okay, there was a switch. We'd shut the boiler down, and once we shut the boiler down, there were some other things we had to do. First thing we had to do is we had to take BC compound, put it into one in one of the tanks. The other thing we had to do, I still remember to this day, we had to go in the back of the boiler in the corner, and there was like a water thing. We had to turn that knob like a little cock. We had to turn that thing. And when we turned that thing, first thing we did is we came over to the sight glass in the far left of the boiler. And what we do is we would take and we'd make sure the boiler was, if I remember right, had to be right around 10 to 15, nothing higher than 10 or 15. You want to blow the boiler down. Okay, you want a little bit of pressure in it, but you didn't want it too high. So we would take the handle very gently and pull it down very slowly and let the water just go right out. Okay, get all out, turn it back up, do it again. Maybe do it 1, 2, maybe do it 3 times. Then I come in the back of the boiler, and there's a line that's closed. And what I would do is I would open that line, okay? And what it would do is it would actually shoot in the cold water. So basically, we had one thing we turned on, all right? And then once we turned the main water on, that would get the water in the system. And then when we opened that valve, the cold water would be coming in. So again, that's what we didn't want to be any more higher in the pressure than like 15. I think 20 was the max. We did around 15. And so that had to be done every single day. But I got to tell you, the very first time that we did this, it was very fearful because I'm like, oh my gosh, it's going to blow up. After I got the class, it was still fearful. But after I did it enough times, I started realizing that it's going to be okay. I remember when I had some friends there and even some family, like, oh, well, can I show you something? Could you watch this? And I was just having them, like, I was kind of showing them how I do this. First of all, I was showing them, like, it was kind of neat what I'm doing. But really the reason I was showing them is that I was kind of scared. So I was just trying to get somebody else that would kind of like, watch. And so that's kind of what I was doing. And so, but that act of courage got me to understand that blowing down the boiler every night is a very important thing because that keeps the boiler from basically corroding out. And if it gets corroded out, the boiler won't run. Number 25, how courage reshapes identity. You become what you think about, and you become what you do repetitively every single day. Your actions become who you are. Those actions take you from one place to a completely other place. And that's an important thing to realize. Number 26, the bravery of consistency, showing up daily, is courageous. Maybe it's for your schools, maybe it's for a relationship, maybe it's facing somebody in your class who's being a bully. Being consistent, being brave all the time stands up for something. And other people start to realize, well, he's not just doing this once. This is who he is. So we can't like mess around with him, right? Because this is the new John or this is the new whatever. And they were not going to put up with that. And I think that's important to know that they didn't want to be thrown under the bus because now you're going to stand up for yourself. When you're younger, a lot of times you're like, oh, I don't really care. I don't want. And then you're letting people indirectly walk on you. And that is a very, very big, big problem. So the bravery of consistency, showing up daily, is courageous. And it is not just something we have to do. It's something we should do, because if we don't do it, we're going to get walked on. And we're people, and we want to be treated with respect. Number 27, why courage builds self-respect. Each brave act earns self-respect. Blowing down the boiler every day earns self-respect. Coming in to open the store. I remember when I was only in I think it was 5th or 6th grade, I was opening the store. And I remember the courage coming in the morning, and I was coming in with cash. And I remember that. And I also remember another time being in the store, and sometimes there could be some, let's say, some slight disagreements between the pressers. Well, there was an issue where there was a couple pressers that were on salary, and there were a couple of the pressers that were what we call, they got paid by the piece. So without getting too complicated, the piece was the hanger. So let's say if they did a dress, so then they would put 2 together, and that would count as 2, okay? Well, one time, this one presser grabbed some hangers, but he grabbed them on the wrong side. It was an honest mistake. The one gentleman, Junior, I call him a gentleman, he switched the knife blade, almost went to this other gentleman, Sam's, throat. I was like, oh my gosh. So miscommunication can cause very disastrous things, not just like I didn't understand and I have to redo something. It can cause some people, if they're that crazy, to react to harming or hurting somebody, or taking their life. So that's not the norm, but communication is very viable. All right, so that's a very important thing. Number 28, guys, moving forward despite uncertainty. Courage doesn't wait for certainty. So if you're going to wait for it, you might as well just keep waiting your whole life, because it's never going to show up. There's never the perfect time to do it. The time to do it is now. All right, that's important. Number 29, courage and restraint. Sometimes courage is not reacting like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Do it anyway. Number 30, choosing action over avoidance. Action dissolves avoidance. And guys, courage is not about fearlessness. It's about choosing movement anyway. Sure, you might be afraid of something. Do it anyway. Small decisions done bravely create big momentum. I remember being fearful of getting blood drawn. I remember during the COVID time, getting the shot. I also didn't like shots. I was kind of fearful of that, but I did it anyway. And even the blood drawing did that. And it actually wasn't so bad. In fact, the only thing that happened with the COVID thing, which was kind of interesting, is that I was just saying to myself, it's going to hurt. Whatever it's going to be, it's going to hurt. And I got the shot, and it's like, it hurt. But I lived, and I was like, fine. I was like, they shoved it way too hard. I complained the next time I went for the second round. They did it properly. Well, they had a truck driver give me the shot, and that was probably a very big problem. So, as I said, small decisions done bravely create big momentum, and momentum is how fear loses its control. So what are you waiting for, guys? Start creating momentum, and fear will get left in the dust. Be sure to visit BelieveMeAchieve.com for more of my amazing, of course, inspiring creations. That's short-form, long-form content, 24 hours a day from your computer and, of course, your smart devices. Choose light, choose clarity. Keep moving forward. I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. We'll see you on another show real soon. BelieveMeAchieve.com. Take care, everyone.